understand, I never teach clowning. I say, let's go clowning. You know, the experience teaches you. Most of the people I go on the clown trips with never clown. I don't screen anybody. Everyone is welcome. No professionals. People-loving people. No bad clowns.
Penso che l'intento di quest'oggi sia quello di celebrare il volontariato, il mondo del volontariato.
Think of all of human history is clearly the model for volunteering, and it is mother. The mother is here, the first volunteer. That person who works every day, all day long, with a motivation of love. And listen to man's language. I would hear in the American context that the father worked and the mother was just a housewife. Where, as a child, I actually saw it was the mother that was working all day long and all night long. There was even this implication that it was the man that did the work and that the mother, they would use this word just. It's really a humiliating word. I think sometimes in the modern world that the idea of the volunteer has a similar kind of disregard. You tell somebody you're a volunteer and then they say, but what do you do for work? I am who I am because of my mother. Everything good in me came from her. I really think that I've spent my life just trying to imitate her. As I've aged and had to talk about this, I've tried to look at what that means to volunteer. For volunteer, if we use the verb to volunteer, we would use the verb to enact love, to be loving. When a friend calls you up and you hear that they are hurting and you drop what you're doing, whatever it is, and you go and spend the evening with them, you are loving your friend, you are volunteering. I think when one chooses to spend their time to volunteer, to be loving, if they pay attention, they notice how great it makes them feel. The world that watches volunteers often uses words like sacrifice, or this idea that you're giving up what you could be doing for this hard thing to do. So if I leave at least one important thought today, it's that there is no sacrifice in volunteering. Volunteering is a choice to experience loving in the most beautiful way. I know that my health and my vitality comes from being a volunteer, that it is the experience of giving that is the reward. If I look at the problems of the world, I think that the answers will come from volunteering, because clearly they will not come from business or from governments. Most volunteer organizations spend a huge amount of time struggling for funding. Not only do they tackle huge problems, but they have to beg to get support so that they can do their work. My whole life I have been a volunteer. In the 40 years in medicine, I've never made any money. I do it because first it makes me feel great, and I also do it because politically I cannot consider myself a citizen unless I work for peace and justice. In our case, the 38 years project we have for a free hospital in the United States, that greater than 90% of the money donated is money I have made in jobs. I don't have to look any further than the beautiful experience that we just had in the hospital. I actually thought I was going to spend my lifetime building this hospital and then working it. None of the other things that have happened were planned. So failing to fundraise for our hospital has meant that we are active in 40 countries. I never dreamed that my own pleasure in clowning for patients for all of these years would now be a movement that has clowns in hospitals in 110 countries. For example, there are over 200 clown groups in Brazil. We were clowning in the Amazon of Peru and found 5-year-old children with gonorrhea, and it made us decide to begin a very long-term project to address the poverty and try to stop the sexual slavery. 4 years ago, we started to build clinics and schools in poor countries, because volunteers, let's call them lovers, natural inclination is to say, how can I help? What can I do? And it's not some kind of Olympics that, for me, all volunteering is equal. When you are friendly to someone on the street, you are volunteering. You stop and help a person change a tire, you're a volunteer.